Hey there, little lady. It's your boy B3 back with another kicking movie reaction review. Hopefully this gets up at the right time, but today we are reviewing Antlers 2021. It's produced by Guillermo del Toro. Yeah, I forget the name of the director. I haven't seen anything. It's Sammy something. I'm kind of doing this without notes because I'm recording it on my phone, and that's where my notes are, and I didn't think this through. But yeah, I think the only thing of his I've actually seen are like some X-Files episodes that he directed, but he did a fantastic job. I'm sorry I forgot his name. Oh my god, I'm not smart. But yeah, I saw Antlers a few days ago on the 25th for kind of a press-only critic screening. Not because these reviews do well, because they don't, but it's fine. I just like expressing it and, chatting in the comments with like-minded people or people with different movie opinions. It's all good. But I did one for Halloween Kills, kind of the midnight premiere that I'm trying to do for this one, because, it's October, it's a horror film, midnight premiere. I think that's a good idea. And I can get my review up real quick. But I really liked this one. Halloween Kills was kind of whatever. Antlers was kick-ass. It was pretty much it was really exactly what I expected. It really was. I thought there'd be more practical effects. And there were practical effects. You think Del Toro's going to produce a film without practicals? Oh, B3, what about Pacific Rim? That was mostly CG. Yeah, but no one's going to let you do men in suits for kaiju in a blockbuster anymore. It's just not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. Suitmation's really dead as far as kaiju go. Not entirely, though. Power Ranger's still going pretty strong. So is Ultraman. But yeah, and then there were a lot of practicals in that movie, actually. There were. Watch behind the scenes stuff. The inside of the Otachi Kaiju, that's a full practical set. Very impressive. So yeah, moving into Antlers. This is where the spoilers start. And the movie's just coming out. It's just hit. So if you don't want spoilers, you might want to clock out. But I'm not going to give you every single detail. I'm going to leave out enough so that you can still enjoy the movie plenty. So I went into this hoping for a Wendigo film. I didn't do any research on the movie. All I knew was what was on the poster and in like the very first trailer. And the very first trailer has a few images and then like one word of dialogue. And I loved that because trailers show way too much. So I didn't watch anything after the first trailer, and I'm glad I didn't. I wanted a Wendigo movie. Big Boy Chungus wanted a Wendigo movie. I didn't take him to see it. The theater was too far from him, plus it was on a weekday when he was working. But I did tell him he needs to see it, because it's a good film. And if you're familiar with the Wendigo, it's pretty much immediately apparent that the Wendigo is the monster. It's pretty much immediately apparent. And the Wendigo is one of my favorite mythological creatures. The Native Americans have some of the coolest mythology. I had to do a report on several different Native American tribe mythologies once for school, back in like 10th grade? 10th grade, let's say 10th grade, I don't know. And I was just fascinated by everything I looked up. I thought it was the coolest. And then African mythology is really good too. I think both need like superhero stuff, Thor style, I really do. Anyways, continuing on, you hear like an elk or like caribou kind of scream, and I'm very familiar with the noises that animals like these make, because I live in a place just surrounded by deer. In fact, when I was driving home from this movie, I got home at like 1 a.m. From this, because I went out to eat with my partner, who I took to see it because I got 2 tickets. And then I hung out with my friend Sai for a bit after that, and then I went home. And then there was standstill traffic on the interstate. So when I got home to my little rural community, and there were deer all on the side of the road watching me in the dark, I was like, this drive is spooky. but in a fun way, not in a I was actually scared way. But this movie was pretty scary. It was very unsettling. I think I've said in many videos, but let me finish my first thought, because I'm ADHD and I can't finish a thought ever. And then even if you don't recognize the kind of animal screams that have been turned into the monster roars via sound effects, like the very next scene is a school teacher talking about like mythology and fairy tales and stuff, and Native American's written on the board, and Native American is the one she specifically mentions. And I was like, dope. That's awesome. This is the Wendigo for sure. I thought everything worked really well. I like the lore behind the Wendigo, both in real life and in this movie. They focused on the heart, which is something I never see people do in Wendigo media. I'm pretty critical of Wendigo media. I watched this one movie forever ago just called Wendigo, and honest to God, I hated it. It sucked ass. Not because the Wendigo was a force for good in it, because I kind of prefer that in a way, actually, to be completely honest. The Wendigo, like, protecting the forests and stuff like that, and maybe being a vengeful spirit, punishing cannibals and stuff like that. That's cool with me. But, the Wendigo just didn't do anything in the movie. It was just straight up bad. But this movie was dope. It was pretty much everything I wanted. Great monster design. It's got, like, antlers going all the way down its back and stuff. And I've said this many times, I prefer horror films that make you feel uncomfortable rather over horror films that try to like pop out and scare you. And there were scares, in this, but most of it was just straight up making you feel uncomfortable, like following this malnourished boy who's like cutting up roadkill, and there's something screwy with his family. Oh, and why are they all gross, and why is his dad feral and all this stuff? And it's very creepy. And then the school teacher, she has a lot of trauma, and some of that trauma, I'm going to spell this out literally because YouTube will hide this video if I don't. She seems to have some trauma from RAPE. And if you've watched a lot of my videos, you know that I don't watch things with RAPE scenes in them. But there wasn't an RAPE scene, and it's not even explicitly stated, but you know it happens. They make you feel like it has happened to her multiple times while she was a child from her own family. Really screwy. She's got a lot of trauma. She's just moved back into town. There's a lot going on. She kind of empathizes with this boy because he is obviously very, very traumatized as well. And that trauma is family related as well. And there were kind of a lot, like there were some similar themes in this to Halloween Kills. And it's not odd that both the promotional movie tickets I got in October were for horror films. That's not a coincidence. That's very intentional. But it kind of was a weird coincidence that both those films were about trauma in a way. Halloween Kills is more about dealing with trauma. They're both about trauma, but in slightly different ways. It's a little hard for me to articulate. And I feel like it'd be hard for a lot of people to articulate because there's smaller differences. It's just very interesting that they both seem to be about that. And I think that's just because there's this big movement right now about like mental health coming to the forefront and not being ashamed of it and treating it the same way you would physical health. So we're seeing a lot of movies with kind of trauma and mental health and stuff as themes. But I mean, it's a very good film. The monster effects are great. It's got good CG and good practicals. The practicals kind of just separate the CG. It's mostly CG. But the CG's good. And when looking at the creature design, practicals for it would have been maybe a little difficult, especially with the way its legs are shaped. And you couldn't A person in a suit probably wouldn't work terribly well, especially if you're doing a full body shot. But there were some like puppetries of the head and stuff. I can't wait for like the Blu-ray to come out, because I'm going to get that Blu-ray and watch those special features, because I want to know all about the effects. I loved how it was lit. I loved how it was paced. I just really loved this movie. Good acting. I only really recognized one actor in it, our female lead, the school teacher. And it's not sexist that I don't remember her name, because I don't remember any character's name. I'm just bad at that. You'll notice that in a lot of my movie reaction reviews. I forget the names. It's hard for me to remember characters' names unless I've seen it several times or something, you know? So, it's got great effects. It's well written. It's got good sets and stuff. And it takes place in a small town. And I really want to talk about that. They really nailed what small towns are like, because I was born and raised in a small town, grew up there. I've lived there most of my life, and I currently live there now. I haven't always lived there. I lived in Athens, Georgia for a while, and Atlanta, Georgia for a while, and I'm trying to get promoted so I can move back to Atlanta, because I do work there. And it's where I saw this movie. I saw it at the Midtown Art Cinema. Cool theater. That's where I saw the new cut of Metropolis in like 2015, 2016. Off topic. But the small towns like to ignore problems. And this movie really nailed that. Like, the police are kind of really willing to write stuff off in this. And then school teachers don't really want to talk about the kids' problems a lot. The one that the film stars does, but then like she takes stuff to the principal, and the principal's like, what do you want me to do about it? And she takes stuff to her brother, who is the sheriff, and he's like, well, what do you want me to do about it? And it's like, what do you want you to do about it? You're two people in charge. You're the principal. You're in charge of the whole school. You're the sheriff. You're in charge of the whole damn town to an extent. And your whole job is to keep people safe. And like, everyone in the town is kind of ignoring problems and just making up excuses. And like, it's because people in small towns, am I being honked at? No. People in small towns like to pretend everything's okay. They're a happy little community. But it's not true. Like, the town in this film has a huge, like, meth problem. Everybody's on and or selling meth. And it's the same exact way in my town. Everybody is on or selling meth. I had a friend who worked in the library, my boy Steven, from years ago. We used to make videos together all the time. Love you, man. We still talk. He used to work, where did he work? He used to work at a business in town. And they had to run people out from behind the business because they were giving blowjobs for meth every day. And they had to, like, run them away. And there are, like, multiple drug dens in my town that the police know about, but they just won't do anything about it. Because they don't want, and one part of that is because they don't want to become a pariah in the community. If you get someone in trouble, and then that someone goes to prison, since everyone knows everyone, and if it's someone people liked or something, then you're going to kind of be shunned. You're going to be shunned. It's just true. The hardware store in my town won't sell to me. And that's actually true. Stuff like that happens hardcore. Especially when you come out like I did. It's whack. It is very whack. But this really is... So, yeah, someone who worked on this film really lived in a small town. For sure. They lived that small town life. But, yeah, I kind of need to go. I have a doctor's appointment in like 20 minutes. The place is 9 minutes away. But I kind of like to get there a little early, you know? So, that's it. You should definitely go see Antlers. It's a really good film. It was almost exactly what I wanted it to be. At some points it even surpassed. Like, the design of the Wendigo was far better than I expected it would be, especially with like the dead skin hanging on the face. Oh my gosh, it was a gorgeous creature. And the movie really truly makes you uncomfortable. And there was even a jump scare that got me. Jump scares, the points where they come in are usually so predictable. Like, you could ask my partner, I was like completely still for every jump scare except one in the shack, or like the shed at the sheriff and teacher's house. One of the jump scares in that shack got me good, but the rest of the jump scares didn't. But every part of the film that was supposed to make me uncomfortable, super duper made me uncomfortable. And props to that, it spooked me. It was a spooky film, and I really loved it, and I'm definitely getting it on Blu-ray when it comes out. So that's it. Thank you all very much for your support. Please remember to rate, comment, subscribe. Check out all the cool links in the description below, Facebook, Twitter, etc. And before you comment that this is not a reaction video, reactions don't have to be live. And if you expected reactions to footage from a film that comes out the moment this video goes live, I think you're expecting too much, because I'm not sure I could legally do that. I mean, that would require spoiling a film with the footage, and that just wouldn't be allowed. So I don't know what you were expecting. Reactions don't have to be live. It's called a reaction review because it's like one take, and I'm just talking about my experience watching a film, usually for the first time, if I can do it the first time I watch a film. And I do have a lot more of these coming up. I got Psycho Goreman, Halloween 3, Friday the 13th Parts 4 and 5, Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2, The Three Worlds of Gulliver, Ray Harryhausen film, and remake of Invasion of the Body Snatchers, and even more. So that's it. Thank you all once again, and I'll see you all next time. Don't eat people in the woods.